Hopefully it's working. Yes? All right. Good morning, everybody. So my name is Alan Warren. I'm the coordinator of the Math and Physics Department at Lambton College. I'm going to be talking about changing the math admission requirements for Lambton College's technology, specifically advanced diploma technology programs. So just to give a bit of a background, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, the grade 12 math courses that we have currently, the university stream, you have the calculus and vectors, the advanced functions, the data management course, and then you have the college stream, the MCT4C, Mathematics for College Technology, and then the MAP4C, the Foundations for College Mathematics, which previously had been called College and Apprenticeship Mathematics. So some background, I'm going to be talking about our three-year advanced diploma technology programs at Lambton College. There's the Chemical Production Engineering Technology program, the Instrumentation Control and Engineering Technology program, and then the Power Engineering Technology program. So all three of these programs have the same admission requirements, and hopefully you can see these. In terms of the mathematics, grade 12 mathematics C or U, and we currently have a minimum grade of 60% on the MAP4C. These have been in place since 2007. Previous to 2007, MAP4C had not been included as an admission option. So in 2007 it was included due to some changes in the high school curriculum. So previous to that, it hadn't been included. So these are the math courses that the students in these programs take. I'm just showing this to give you an idea of the breadth of topics that the students cover. In our first term, they cover arithmetic of real numbers, unit conversions, ratios, proportions, variation, linear and polynomial functions, systems of equations, exponential functions, radical functions, logarithms, trigonometric functions, vectors, complex numbers. It's a 5-hour per week course. It is a heavy course. In their second term, all of these programs then go into exponential logarithmic functions in more detail. Then they get into derivatives of polynomial functions, power functions, rational functions, trigonometric, exponential, logarithmic, derivative applications, partial derivatives, some statistics and probability and regression, which I'm sure looking at that you'll think, as we sometimes do, those last two topics don't really fit in that course, considering that it's a calculus course, but that's the way it's currently set up. Then in the third or fourth term, depending on the program, we get into integral calculus, some more probability distributions, and then in the ISET program, in their seventh term, they go into even more advanced applications of derivatives, Fourier series, differential equations, forecasting, statistical process control, etc. So the students in these programs are doing some fairly heavy mathematics. So it's important for them to come in with a sound background. Continuing on with the idea of the background to my pursuit, or our pursuit of changing the math admission requirements, is a college math project. Which, how many of you are familiar with the College Math Project? Hopefully most people. So, College Math Project began in 2006 as a joint venture between Seneca and York University. And their objective was to study basically the success rates of students in their first term college math courses. And they were looking at that in terms of their high school entry courses. So what they took in the grade 12 or even grade 11. And seeing how it correlated to their success in their first term college math course. So it became the College Student Achievement Project in, I think, 2011, 2012, where it then looked at not just mathematics, but also language. Now, one thing that the College Math Project and the College Student Achievement Project found was consistently the MAP4C course did not prepare many students for success in their college program. Prepared some students, but many of them were not prepared, particularly technology students. So now I'm going to show some stats taken from the College Math Project reports. So the fall 2011 final report from the 2013 College Student Achievement Project showed that in fall 2011, this is their breakdown, and hopefully everybody can see this. This is their breakdown for the MAP4C, their entry grade from high school, and essentially their success rates in their first term college math course. So the College Math Project, CSAP, categorized grades as being good grades, so C or above, or 60 or above, depending on the grading scale. And at risk was a D, an F, or a W, meaning that the students were at risk of completing their program. So you can see that for all programs, for the MAP4C, right here, students who were between 60 and 69% as their MAP4C grade coming in, roughly 50% of them were at risk of completing their program. And of course, if you go to lower grades, well, then that success rate was even lower. Compare that to the MCT4C, where at this 60 to 69% range, only around 30% were at risk. So that's a considerable difference, and one that I took note of, and I think that many of us in the room took note of. Then when you look at technology, so that was just for all programs in general. If you look at technology, and this is from their 2008 report, you can see that this is a breakdown of all the different pathways into college, so grade 11 course and grade 12 course. You can see that the MAP4C, the at risk is usually, well, it's not too bad here, but the MAP4C tended to have a higher percentage of at risk. And then when you look at the actual grades that the students were coming in with, again, 60 to 69, that's about where the cutoff is. Even at 70 to 79%, still 56% were just getting good grades, so about 45% were at risk. So to me, that was quite startling, because that meant that 45% of the students that were coming in with that grade from high school were at risk of completing their programs. MCT4C, on the other hand, well, if you want to get down to like this level, 50 to 59%, you're still 53, 54% had good grades. So this, to me, was very startling. Suggested that, again, MAP4C was not preparing students very well. So having that in hand, I looked at the results at Lambton. So this is from 2010 to 2012, I looked at the grades in our Math 110 course, our first term course, and looked at the course that the students came in with. And you can see that, and this is showing the MAP and the MCT. So students who came in with the MAP4C consistently underperformed compared to the students who came in with the MCT4C grade. And this is a grade point average, so 1 would be a D, 2 is like a C, 3 is a B, and 4 is an A. So you can see that consistently the MAP4C students were underperforming compared to the MCT4C. And one thing I want to note is that this does not include students who withdrew. If those students were included, I am fairly certain that these would drop a bit, and I think that the lighter blue would be affected the most. Then I looked at the success rates in our most recent fall 2014 and winter 2015 for our Math 110 and our Math 210. So these are MAP4C grades, and then the percentage that passed the course. So for the Math 110, we had, well, if you wanted to get above 50% of them passing the course, you're starting to look at 75% as the cutoff. Less than 75%, the majority of the students were failing the course. And you can see that the majority of the students came in with a grade of 70 to 75. Math 210, that's our second course. You can see that the number of students that passed or completed that dropped off significantly. So we're looking at really up until you get to grades of 90 to 95, less than 50%, even less than 40%, almost less than 30% of those students were successfully completing the first two math courses. So that meant that they were either having to repeat the Math 110 in the winter term and then take the Math 210 in the summer term, or they were taking this Math 210 in the summer term because they had failed it in the winter term, or they just disappeared altogether, which naturally is a concern. MCT 4C, on the other hand, results much better. Really, anybody who had, and I will say that the number of students coming in with the MCT 4C was smaller in proportion. Probably about half of the students compared to the students coming in with MAP 4C. But they consistently performed much, much better in the Math 110 and the Math 210. So, with all of this data in hand, I felt, the math department felt, that we needed to take some action on this. So in 2008, that's when I first learned of this college math project results. I discussed them with the Dean of Technology and the program coordinators, and everybody was on side with, we need to do something about this. We need to take some action. We need to look at the admission requirements for particularly the MAP 4C, and everybody was in agreement with that, but nothing really came of it. May 2009, the Ontario College Math Council, not to be confused with the Ontario College Math Association, formerly the Heads of Math, made a recommendation to the Heads of Technology that all Ontario colleges adopt MCT 4C as the minimum mathematics entrance requirement for all technology programs. So I was just getting a wave from Don. Was that a wave to say yes, or? Okay. So that was put forward to the Heads of Technology for discussion. Anybody here from the Heads of Technology? Oh. Okay, so because I went back through the minutes of the Ontario College Math Council, and we never formally, at least that I could find, heard back. And I think, as you probably know, this was not adopted, since many of us, I think virtually every college still accepts MAP 4C. 2013, I collected and analyzed our own data at Lambton College, which I've already shown. 2014, I collected even more data, some more recent data, because every time the conversation came up, people were asking, what's the data showing? What are the results? And one of the reasons that I had to do that is because at Lambton College, we're fortunate in that we have a math department. But the math department has seen quite a bit of turnover in terms of leadership, not in terms of, I've been coordinator since 2008, and previous to that it was Don Vanderklok for quite a number of years. However, we've had, I think, 5 deans since 2008, and the reporting structures, we don't have an associate dean, it's just coordinator, dean. So we've had 5 different deans over that time span. 4 different deans of technology, and at one point we were under, I'll say, the dean of the School of Health, so it was a bit odd. So every time there was a change in the coordinator, every time there was a change in the dean, or every time there was a change in the VP academic, of which we've had 4 since 2008, this conversation had to be revisited. So that's why I've had to collect data time and time again. In January 2015, as part of a pre-technology program advisory council meeting, we had been seeing that the pre-technology numbers had been declining steadily. The enrollment had been declining. And one of the reasons that we thought that that was happening was that the students who really should be going into that program were now going into those 3-year programs, the CPET, the instrumentation program, the power engineering program, instead of going into the pre-technology program where they really should have been going in the first place. And so in that meeting, the coordinators of those programs said, we unanimously agree to raise the admission requirement for MAP4C to 70%. Now, based on the stats, that's still not quite getting up high enough to get past that 50% good grades or at-risk barrier, but it's a start because right now we're at 60%. At the same time, we talked about the MDM4U, the data management course, which at the same time our statistics showed does not prepare students for the kind of curriculum that I was showing. Because data management, while it could come in helpful when we're talking about statistics and probability, really doesn't help very much when we're talking about differentiating equations and solving optimization problems. So we made that unanimous decision in 2015, and that was to be brought to the program advisory councils. And I'll say that currently we still have MAP4C at a 60% and MDM4U as just a passing grade. Part of that, again, is the turnover. Turnover in deans, turnover in program coordinators. That's been a real barrier. So in May 2015, I collected even more data to present to our new dean and our new coordinators to really hammer home the importance of these admission requirements and how it not only affects the student success in these math courses, but the retention in their programs. And then again, in January 2016, new dean, new conversation, collected information about the admission requirements at other colleges. So the admission requirements at other colleges, I looked at 16 colleges that have similar programs. 8 of them have just accept MAP4C unconditionally. No conditions on it whatsoever for a 3-year advanced diploma technology program. 1 does not accept MAP4C at all. I can't remember which one it is, but the other 8 colleges, so 8 accepted it unconditionally, 1 said, no, we're not taking it. The other 7 had a variety of conditions. 1 accepted it at a minimum grade of 60% or higher, which is the same as what Lambton does. 1 was at 65% with an additional prep course. 1 was at 65%. 1 has 80% as the cutoff. And students with a lower grade can write a pre-admission assessment test. 1 had a post-admission assessment test, which, depending on the results, may require the student to take an additional preparatory or upgrading math course. 1, the MAP4C applicants are considered after completing a math admission test. So this is a pre-admission. And depending on the results, they may receive an alternate offer to a pre-technology program, which I believe was the original idea that we had at Lambton College back in 2007, was to have that admission test, or just ideally we would have been streaming those students into our pre-technology. After that, we looked at assessment test, and then based on the results, streaming into pre-technology. But no, they went straight into their technology program. And 1 said the minimum grade was required, but it wasn't stipulated. So I don't know what the minimum grade is. I'm guessing it's Yeah, 50% possibly. So in terms of what we were seeking, a number of colleges have lower requirements than what we were seeking. Some colleges have higher requirements and have more conditions on those admission requirements regarding the MAP 4C. I can say that in my research, the MDM 4U, I don't recall any of them saying explicitly that the data management course was not accepted. I think most of them said C or U, and there was no condition on the MDM 4U. So with all of this data, all of the drive to get this change made, not just for, well, mostly for the success of the student, because in some ways when we're letting a student in with a grade that we know likely will result in them not being successful in the course and like possibly the program, taking action was important. So the challenges that we've faced in making these changes happen, one is that MAP 4C is the easier path to college. Right? It's the easier path. It's a lower level course, so that's the one that students gravitate towards. It's path of least resistance, nothing more than that. Not all high schools offer MCT 4C. That was one of the barriers when we talked at the Ontario College Math Council about making it a standard requirement across the board. I know that it's something that was talked about in the College Math Project and the College Student Achievement Project reports, was the fact that MCT 4C is not offered at all high schools, particularly when you're looking at smaller communities, which for Lambton College, we're in Sarnia, smaller college. The next point, which is that the perception is from many people, students and guidance counselors and high school teachers, that students going to college don't need a strong math background. I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but I certainly have. When I was working in high school, that was a perception. The college-bound students, it was the thought was they're not going to need any math when they go to college. So getting back to this, so the perception that the students wouldn't need a strong math background is another one of those challenges, because that's one of the reasons they're not coming in with the MCT 4C. They're just taking that path of least resistance. Gathering relevant data is a challenge, getting all of the data, finding out what students came in with from high school, how they succeeded. The College Math Project, CSAP, did a great job, a great service in helping with that. For us personally at Lambton College, turnover in administration and program coordinators, as I said, we've had a lot of turnover, and every time there's turnover, the conversation has to start again, which is why the subtitle of my presentation was There and Back Again, which, anybody get the reference? Yeah? I kidded to somebody that we may as well be saying to those students, you shall not pass. So having that turnover meant that the conversation had to happen again and again and again and again. And time required to make a change, because there's the administrative processes at the college to have it change, but then you also have to provide sufficient lead time for the high school students, because they need to make decisions earlier on. You can't just say, next fall we're requiring MCT 4C, because that makes a difference to what they take in grade 10, grade 11, and so on. And then the elephant in the room is the enrollment, right? That's, as was said, the bean counters. That's one of the biggest challenges, is getting past that perception that if we up the requirements, we'll have fewer students enrolled, but potentially those students would go into our pre-technology program, and our statistics show that the students who go into the pre-technology program and are successful in it and go into our technology programs are successful there, even more successful than the students who are coming in with a high grade in MCT 4C. So the idea that it would negatively impact enrollment, that's true in the possibly in the present, but if you look long term, it may not necessarily be as negative as it may appear. It may actually be a very positive thing, because instead of those students disappearing after one term, we're retaining them and keeping them for the duration of their 3-year program. Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you very much.